Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com. Welcome to Think Up, Unlimited Possibilities. This show is designed to uplift you as well as explore the cohesive nature of the universe in order to discover the unlimited possibilities available through converging and expanding consciousness. And here's your host, Patricia V. Scott.
Hello and welcome back to Think Up. UP stands for Unlimited Possibilities, in case you haven't discovered that yet. And if you haven't yet discovered that, you will soon. I have in the studio my first guest because I thought you might get tired of just hearing me babble all the time. So I decided I needed to bring on a guest, and the one that was going to be here tonight couldn't make it. So we have my little green friend over here, and let's see if he has anything profound to kick off this show with.
But another time, back to my meditation will I go.
Very good. So while Yoda meditates over there, we're going to continue the discussion. In the last couple of shows, I've been talking about a lot about the studies from the 1970s, the Simonton studies from this book that I'm holding up, Getting Well Again. And I realized I've been going through a lot of kind of clinical things, and hopefully I want to keep this show light, because after all, it's about thinking up. And I do work with catastrophic illness. I work with people with some pretty extreme situations in their lives on any level of life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. They're all tied in together, obviously. And then that spiritual, or whatever your words are, for the other realm, which is also a part of all of this, what I'm talking about in this show. I purposely didn't put the word hypnosis in the name of the show, even though I am a certified medical hypnotherapist. I'm trained in many forms of hypnotherapy, and that is kind of the name that I have on my business card, and I'm trained in neurolinguistic programming and biofeedback and a lot of other things, and yet these are just study areas. I'm a perpetual student. I am constantly, since I can remember, since I had a cognitive ability to think with my conscious mind, I always remember being very curious about human behavior and about how different people can be in a situation and all have a different experience based on how they think about that situation. That's kind of really what got me started in this work. I mentioned in some of the previous shows that as it's relevant, I'm going to talk about my previous, I call it my past life now because of the world that I travel in. And my main past life that I recall was in this lifetime, but it feels like a past life at this point, because for 20 years, I did what I remember wanting to do ever since, as I said, I became cognizant of my thoughts. And that was always wanted to grow up and be a singer. Singing, performing, that was the only pretty much goal I had in my brain from the time I can remember as a small child. I used to sing all the time, everywhere, anywhere. My dad would take me to the bars and sit me up on a table, and I'd stand up and sing for everyone. And it's funny because years later he told me they used to give him money and buy him drinks. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I must have been pretty darn good if that is true. So I'll take that as a compliment. Anyway, whoever would listen. So lots of thinking about it. I also was told when I was a child that I would stand up in the middle of the bed at night in my sleep and start singing. Now, I know that it was in my sleep because they would tell me the next morning, and I wouldn't remember it. So even in my sleep, I was thinking, my unconscious mind, the part that I talk about when you're in hypnosis, and you do, by the way, drift through the hypnotic brainwave state when you go to sleep at night. So your unconscious mind gets extremely active when you're asleep. And whatever is your prominent thought, we talk about moving in the direction of our dominant thought. That's part of what that means. When you go to sleep at night, whatever you're thinking of, even sleep studies have proven that the activity in the brain at the unconscious level supports and takes off on and is activated by whatever you are thinking about when you go to sleep. So when I work with people who have a lot of anxiety, have panic attacks, or a lot of stress in their lives, one of the first things I ask them is, what do you do right before or as you're drifting off to sleep. And many times it doesn't surprise me anymore. I almost expect the answer to be, well, I'm usually watch the news, or I fall asleep watching TV, watching the news. And I say, well, stop it. Don't do that because whatever is on the news is generally not very positive or uplifting. And your mind does continue to process that all night long. And that's not just an opinion. That is real research, if that's what you require, does show that. So, be careful. And even, by the way, now that we know more about how the mind works and how the unconscious mind truly never sleeps, it is always reacting. And, by the way, generating chemicals in the body based on what is coming in, the input, whatever it is aware of. And the unconscious is very aware when you're asleep, and it's very aware when you're under anesthesia in the hospital. They've done studies now that show different areas of the brain being activated based on what is being said in the operating room. So don't think that just because you're asleep or unconscious, and sometimes when I do hypnosis with people who really do let themselves go into the experience completely and fully, and have sometimes an experience of being what seems to be being unconscious. They aren't aware consciously when they come back of what happened. And I always know that's a pretty good sign generally, because that means they really got out of the way. And in that state, it is straight access to the unconscious mind. Now, to my way of thinking, when I talk about think up, unlimited possibilities, that is where those possibilities are, at the unconscious level. From the first moment that you come into this physical realm, this physical body that is a miracle in itself, if you think about all of the things the unconscious mind does for you while you're busy with your day or your job or working on your goals or doing your tasks throughout the day, the unconscious mind is behind the scenes. And even, by the way, when you're sleeping at night, even more efficiently, running every single part of your body. It's running the cells. It's keeping the blood flowing. It's keeping your heart beating. And when you're asleep or in hypnosis or in meditation, any of those nice brainwave states where the conscious busy mind is shut off or quieted a bit, that's when all of those functions get more efficient. And that's why if you practice self-hypnosis, meditation, any of these things, and it's going to put you into that state where the body can start to rebuild, can start to heal, can start to perform more efficiently. If you're having trouble with any natural, normal process that should be normal for the body, like sleeping, what's more normal than sleeping? You came into this world with the mind knowing when the body is tired, when the mind is tired, it's time to rest physically, mentally. We need that rest. And that's when we rejuvenate. That's when the cells rebuild. That's if you worked out. That's when your muscles start to strengthen again and get stronger than before you worked out. All of those things happen at the unconscious level. And by the way, when you're sleeping, it's also offering you dreams, which are representations of all of those things you were thinking about throughout your day. So if you have a goal that is very, very important to you, whether, and again, we've been talking the last couple of shows about the studies by the Simontons in the 70s, which was basically based on catastrophic illness, mostly on cancer patients. But anything that I talk about in this show is going to be applicable to anything in your life, whether it's financial goals, whether it's self-discovery. I get a lot of people who just don't even know what they want. You have to quiet the mind and go to that amazing unconscious level, because it's also the part of you that knows your untapped potentials. It knows your true intelligence, your true possibilities. And by getting quiet once in a while with these techniques, you're able to access that enormous amount of intelligence, that I think of it as the higher intelligence within you. And then depending, again, on your belief system and how you frame the world and things in it and how you've been brought up, there is another realm that some people call it metaphysics. Some people call it the universal mind, universal consciousness. Whether you study Carl Jung and you buy into that theory, there is most definitely another realm that is accessed once you get into the consciousness at a higher level. When you get to that unconscious part of your mind with an intention of achieving something. When you have an outcome that you are searching for or that you are wanting, whether it's specific or whether it's a searching for something that you aren't even sure what it is completely irrelevant to my understanding and from my experience in this field. And people ask me, what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis? And I say, and by the way, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, whether I'm hypnotizing you or someone else is, or you're listening to a CD or whatever's the new thing, MP3, whatever. I used to say cassette tape, but I guess we're past that now. And, or whether you're doing self-hypnosis, just talking to yourself, which, by the way, you do all day long inside of your head. So you are basically programming yourself. You're hypnotizing yourself based on what you repetitively say over and over and over inside of your head. So people who say, oh, I don't think I can be hypnotized. I'm like, well, guess what? That's a belief system that you formed through self-hypnosis, through letting information in from wherever you got it and forming a misguided a misconception about what hypnosis is, first of all, and then forming a belief system surrounding that. And as soon as I explained to them the very well-proven fact that the most intelligent people make the best hypnotic subjects, all of a sudden they tend to kind of change their mind on that a little bit and say, oh, really? Because, hey, we all think we're intelligent, right? So it's true that if you are smart, because think about it, you can focus better. If you're a very smart person, you're able to think cognitively more efficiently about things. You can follow directions better. And hypnosis, my best description of what hypnosis is, it's concentrated, focused attention, whether you're hitting a golf ball, whether you're riding a bike, doing a sport, whether you're exercising, like when Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in the 80s, was into bodybuilding quite a bit, and I had all the muscle and fitness magazines. I was just speaking with someone about this the other day, and it brought it back to me. And I remember back then when Arnold was only a bodybuilder, and everybody said, you got to change your name because nobody can pronounce that name. You'll never get anywhere. Well, so much for that belief system, right? And he said, no, this is my name. So, and I'll be back. So he was back, by the way, in some other realms. I need a drink of water, so it's a good thing I'm not a politician, or you'd probably forget everything else I said. And that's about as far as I'll ever get into politics on this show. That's the guy ahead of me. That's the guy that's in front of me's job. So, so Arnold used to stare in the mirror. I remember one of the magazine articles about him when he was a award-winning top bodybuilder. And he said he would look in the mirror, and most bodybuilders would envision their biceps, because he was kind of known for his biceps. Most bodybuilders would envision their biceps as being gigantic biceps, the biggest biceps in the world. Not Arnold. Arnold knew something more about how the mind worked, and knowing the unlimited ability of his mind to develop to whatever level was possible for him. He didn't want to limit it by thinking about a large bicep. So what he did was he would look in the mirror, and when he was doing biceps curls, he would envision mountains in his biceps. I'll hold up my bicep. There you go. I don't quite have a mountain in there, but still have a pretty good bicep. So he would envision mountains in his arms. And what that did at the unconscious level, and I'm going to bring this around to some more science and all that stuff for those of you who really need that. And it allowed his any limits that he might have had in his mind about what might be possible for those biceps to totally be blown out, right? It blew out the limits, and it gave his mind permission to do whatever was possible. Whatever was possible. If it isn't possible, I always tell my clients, if it isn't possible, it isn't going to happen anyway. But what usually happens, more often than not, is that we limit it with our conscious mind, with our limited thinking, with our limited belief systems that we either adapted through our life, or that were taught to us from a very young age. So at a very young age, back to my previous story here, close that loop, when I would stand up in bed and sing, and I would tell everybody I'm going to be a singer when I grow up and an actress and all this. Mainly, I loved singing. I just loved singing. And it wouldn't have mattered to me how many people through the years said how unrealistic it was, how, it just is, it's a childish dream, that it's not reality. It didn't matter, because I had that thought in my mind. It got into my unconscious mind so solidly, so permanently, so completely, that I knew. It wasn't an opinion. It wasn't a belief. I knew. I knew I was going to grow up and be a singer. So it didn't matter that I was from a small town. It didn't matter I didn't have any connections. It didn't matter that it was a competitive business. And what that did, it cemented into my unconscious at that young age, which, by the way, up until they say up till about 5 to 7 years old is when we're really taking in our basic programming that's going to color our lives. And it makes it much more challenging later in life to get past some of those things if they are limiting you in any way. So what I did was I got it in there. And as I started, getting a little older and became a teenager, of course, more and more people would say it was unrealistic. It's just silly to think about that. So I kind of pushed it into the background for a few years, but it didn't matter because it was still there. It was still solid. And it came back out at a point in my life when I was about 20. And there it was again. And I will tell you more about that story as it becomes relevant, like I said. So there you go. So for 20 years, I became a singer. I became a very successful entertainer. I did things that I hadn't even dreamed about. Talk about blasting through the limits. I became a singer, a songwriter. I did TV, film. I sang opera. I did everything you can imagine. So there you go. And 20 years later, another epiphany, another amazing thing happened. Because all those years I was in show business, I was learning how to use my mind. I was learning how to use my imagination. I was learning how to get past physical limitations with the power of my mind. And it led me to studying all of these wonderful books. And Getting Well Again is one of the books I read in those days. Now, I didn't have any real serious interest in cancer studies or anything like that. But some of the other books I had read had referred to that book. And they talked about the visualization, the guided imagery that Dr. Simonton used on the cancer patients, and that these little Pac-Men would go in and eat the cancerous tumors, and people were curing themselves, and they were visualizing the cancer as a very weak, small, insignificant, and the treatment as being very powerful. And the killer T cells is the armies of blood cells going in to attack the cancer. And how strange, because these people were curing themselves. Curing themselves. That's what it was, getting past their limiting thoughts, getting a sense of control over what they were doing. And that's a lot of what this is about. Now, this is TalkWad Radio, talkwad.com. What a cool name, huh? And I am on lives Thursdays. The Think Up Unlimited Possibilities show with me, Patricia V. Scott, is on Thursday evenings live. You can call in anytime. I've only had one caller, and it was one of my colleagues that called in a couple weeks ago that was going to be here with me. And I think we're having to change dates. And Tamara Fontenot, she's a licensed mental health counselor over in Tampa. Wonderful lady. And she joined me talking about mindfulness, which is another kind of realm of accessing the unconscious mind. And she does classes on that. And I haven't had another guest until Yoda here since then, so let me see if Yoda has anything to add to the conversation up to this point yet.
May the force be with you.
Now, what else would Yoda say? Now, I know you have more interesting things than that to say because I've heard them come out of your mouth. So we'll find out if he comes out with some of those later, but he's being a little bit quiet today. So, if you call in live, like I said, on Thursdays, 7:30 to 8:30, the number is 727-493-2055. That's 727-493-2055. And you can call in live 7:30 to 8:30 on Thursdays. And you can go into talkwad.com and go into their empowerment section, and you can listen to any of the archived shows. There's a few of them now. I started this in January, and excuse me, I need another drink of water. Like I said, good thing I'm not a politician. That's okay, though, because I'm talking to your unconscious mind, and it doesn't necessarily matter if you're listening to me consciously. I'm going to be doing a lot of different things. Trying to think of the right word to use. Different things, hopefully interesting things, unusual things during this show. And I'm even thinking about, since it is on the internet, I'm thinking about, I need to think it through a little bit better to make sure, but I may be doing some processes during the show that you can actually go into a light hypnotic state with me leading you, since I don't believe people can listen to this in the car. And if they are, I'd have to make that statement ahead of time. Don't listen while you're driving or doing something that needs your full attention. So, the different topics that I'm going to be talking about are all about ways to access the unconscious mind, because thinking up is not something that is just about when things are rosy. And I tell people all the time, sometimes people will tell me, how can you be so up when all this stuff is going on? And I tell them, it's a state of mind. It's not something I wait for good things to happen to be happy. You're in charge of your thoughts. You're in charge of what you choose to focus on. And I tell people it's not like you put a pair of rose-colored glasses on like we used to say back in the 60s. It's not putting rose-colored glasses on and pretending everything's rosy. That's not what this work's about. This work is about realizing what an amazing experience life is. And when challenges happen, instead of looking at them, taking in the information, and framing it in your mind as horrible, terrible, oh my gosh, and sending yourself down that victim road where you're going to miss out on any lessons or strengths that you could build getting through something. If something is happening, it's about being there with it in a resourceful state. I have been, and again, I'm not going to talk about personal experiences unless they become relevant, but I've been in a couple of very, very extreme accidents where people died. And the thing that I noticed in the situations I was in where people around me either were hurt or had died, even at a very young age, this happened once, and I may talk about that at length in some class, in some show that is going to be talking about how to get past trauma. Past trauma. Interesting. And it's not about forgetting it, because people will call me and they'll say, can you make me forget my ex-girlfriend? Make me forget that this ever happened. Can you erase my memory? And I'm like, my goodness, why would you want to do that? First of all, if you erase something, why would you not want to erase an experience you had in your life? How about if that experience could actually offer you something? How about if you got something positive moving forward that you would have never gotten? Because if you think about the most profound experiences in your life where you got the most from, I'll bet most of them were not the very up, positive, happy moments. Most of the times when you came out of it a better person, it was because you were challenged. So anyway, where was I? Getting off track here. So when we talk about things like cancer, when we talk about challenges, when we talk about crisis, that's a new buzzword that's out there a lot. Everything's a crisis now. And, a real crisis, I don't know if some people would even recognize, because this morning, a lady missed an appointment. She forgot to bring her son to come see me. And on the phone, it was like, my gosh, you would have thought it was the worst crisis of her life. And I'm like, calm down, everything's fine. Let's move on here. What do we do now? And some people, and that tells me there's a lot of stress going on in that person's life. And for, because when the little stresses build up, by the way, like we talked about the last two shows, when the little stresses build up over time, that's when the Simontons found, that's in their studies, that's what led to cancer. Because, we all have cancerous cells in our body. We all have cancer cells. Did you know that? Most people know that. And most of us have, pollen that comes into our body. Most of us have there's a lot of stuff, a lot of germs and bacteria and different things that we have access to. And it's a matter of how our body processes it. If we're under a lot of stress, those things are going to affect our body more so than if we are in a resourceful state. And like I said, if you've ever been in a situation that was a very big, serious situation where maybe an accident or something, where there are several people around, and some of the people that already are stressed or don't have a good strategy to deal with stress, they fall apart. They become part of the problem. They add to the crisis because they are unable to deal with it. They're falling apart, crying in the corner, whatever. And there are usually one or two people, hopefully, that, and like I said, I'm not sure how I ended up, other than that I've always been on a search for human behavior and experiencing life, that I ended up being one of those people at an early age that looks around and goes, what do we need to do about this? What can we do? It's a what can you do mindset rather than, oh my gosh, this is terrible and it's horrible and all of that. So at any given moment in time, you have a choice of either using your thoughts to go down the victim pathway. And I don't mean that in any demeaning way whatsoever, because many people that are on the victim pathway um, have had some very traumatic things happen. And it's not about blame. It's not about any of that. It's about how do you choose to live your life? And I happen to be, from an early age probably, I'm guessing, someone who just, based on whatever I saw in my surroundings, decided to choose to be more present and to figure out what can we do with this? What can we do with this? And my goal in life from that point on has always been to find more efficient ways to be in situations that show up and to assess what can you do with it. Because if you're there, if you're alive, there's something that you can do. There's a way that you can think that can allow you to get through it more efficiently than someone who's going to be falling apart and thinking about how horrible it is. So anyway, enough about that. But I want to keep these shows up, but I want you to realize that being up is also about being resourceful. It's about thinking up, meaning strength. When you think up, I think it was the first show I did where I talked about if you're feeling kind of down or low on energy, if you just stand up and hold yourself straight up and look up in the air, hold your chin up, maybe raise your arms up in the air and just start laughing or looking at something beautiful up in the sky, you're going to feel instantly better. With everything the same going on, you will feel better. You will feel better instantly. And as much better as you allow yourself to feel, that's what's going to happen. I talked about one of my first teachers, Dr. Michael Preston, who wrote Hypnosis, Medicine of the Mind. He said, we teach people how to think. It's not that you don't already know how to think. It's about, if the way I'm thinking causes me to feel worse than I need to feel in this situation, why would I not want to learn how to think in a way that would cause me to feel better, to be more resourceful, to be more productive, to be more successful? So that's what this show is about. It's not about just, I love Norman Vincent Peale. Positive thinking, yes. It goes beyond that. If you actually did read some of these people that have talked about positivity and this stuff through the years, it's more than just the rose-colored glasses again. It's about a mindset. It's about moving through life, being able to be in any given moment. Like right now, I'm in this studio and it's so cool. It's like I'm back in showbiz again. I've got some wonderful feelings that I get when I get behind this microphone. And some of those are at the unconscious level based on my experiences when I used to sing and when I used to do radio shows and voiceovers and things. And that's all part of what brings these feel-good chemicals into my body. And my brain and my mind has all of these things stored. So I don't have to sit here and try to remember what it was that I enjoyed about being behind a microphone. It's already programmed in. There isn't room in the conscious mind for all of that processing. You can only focus on whatever's going on right now. And somebody figured out 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information in any given moment that you can focus on. So it's the unconscious mind's job to trigger all of those feel-good hormones and chemicals in your brain so that something happens and you just feel it. Now, if something just happened and you feel bad, the good part of that is that you can retrain your mind. You can retrain your mind to trigger different chemicals, to trigger a different emotional effect, a different emotional feeling on purpose. You can do this with these techniques. You can create a new strategy. So something that used to, the person, like I said, that calls me and says, can you erase this part of my past that's traumatizing me? Well, how about if we make it so that when you think of that now, or if something just accidentally reminds you of that or that person out in the future, that you feel differently? How would you like to be able to feel when that comes up? And sometimes the best feeling is a neutral feeling. I'd like to just not have any feeling at all. I'd just like to be okay with it. Like I hear it, I get reminded of it, and I'm just neutral. If that's what you want, you can train that in. The mind, you can train it in and then create a trigger, and it can be done very quickly. The only thing that gets in the way of it being done quickly is limiting thought, conscious limiting thought, impressions, opinions. Everybody's got an opinion. If someone else's opinion doesn't assist you, I say throw it out, kick it out, find a better opinion. And if you go inside to the expert, as I like to say, at the unconscious level, that's your expert for you, for your life, for what you are able to do, for what is possible for you. And your unconscious mind has all of that information. Everybody's out here looking outside. Give me a pill, fix me. Do therapy on me. Do this to me. Do this, give me this. And they're missing it. People that are doing that are missing it. And when they discover that all of the answers and the expert truly is inside, it becomes amazing. It's like this moment, those aha, those wow moments that I see in classes all the time. And hypnosis, self-hypnosis, by the way, like I said, the difference between meditation is a nice, relaxed, focused state of concentrated attention as well. The difference between hypnosis and meditation, the only difference, because they're both in the same brainwave state, they're both healthy for you. The difference is with hypnosis, you start out with that intention. You start out with an outcome, a goal. And one of my favorite phrases, I say it a lot, you'll hear it a lot if you listen to the show or come to any of my classes. Why waste a good trance? If you're in that state where your unconscious is activated, that channel is open, and you are able to access your higher faculties, why would you not let it do something for you? It has the ability. It has unlimited ability. And so, why waste that trance? You might as well give it something to do while your body's being healthier, while your immune system's getting stronger, while you're de-stressing, all those things. And it can do it all. So give it some more to do. It has the ability, and it can improve your life. It can accent your life. It can make the highs higher and catch the lows before they get too low. That roller coaster of life, so that your normal way of moving through life keeps raising. That's the way I think of this work. I do want to tell you, if there's any healthcare professionals or anyone out there that really is interested in learning hypnosis, either just for themselves or to help other people, and you end up helping other people even, inadvertently, just by living this work and by being involved with it and having your mind set in this work you do anyway. But I do have twice a year, we do a certification training. It's through the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. And also the hours are approved. You could also join the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association, which I'm a life fellow of. And basically my trainings are accepted. I haven't heard of any organization that didn't accept someone after them. But it's a 6-weekend training. The first weekend is a basic hypnosis training, which you can take and just learn some basics. It's a very comprehensive training, and it starts March 8th. You can go to uphypnosis.com and get all the details for that. And if people want to get certified, then they go to 5 additional weekends. They're not consecutive, so you can look at the dates on the website. 6 weekends in total with some outside assignments. They're all fun. They're all, the people in the class usually do more than I ask them to do, because it becomes, again, a way of life. It becomes something phenomenal that enhances your life as well as everyone around you. And that training is starting March 8th. So uphypnosis.com, or you can email me at info@uphypnosis.com. And again, if you want to call in, the number is 727-493-2055. If it is Thursday, what is the date? 14. It's Valentine's Day. That's right. It's February 14th. I almost forgot. What do you say about that, Yoda?
Meditating, I have been at one with the force, am I?
You're doing a lot of meditating tonight there. Yeah, he just wants to meditate tonight. Maybe he'll say some more later. Okay, so when we're talking about cancer, for those of you who didn't hear the other radio shows, I think it was the last 2, I started this and then I realized there's so much information here, and it does relate to all of the things we're talking about. When I talk about these studies on cancer, like I said, they can apply to anything in your life. They can apply to a sticking point you have in creativity. It can apply to financial problems, relationship problems. Everything functions the same. The same principles apply, whatever your problem is, at the cellular level. And you heard me talking about Bruce Lipton a bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about him tonight if I don't run out of time. I'm kind of babbling here tonight. Bruce Lipton wrote a book called, well, he's got another book out now, but this one is The Biology of Belief. And Bruce Lipton, professor of cellular biology, studied stem cells. Need another drink of water. Must be Must be something I got programmed with from watching too much political TV the last few days. Anyway, Bruce Lipton, in the Biology Beliefs, he says, our new understanding of the universe's mechanics shows us how the physical body can be affected by the immaterial mind. Thoughts, the mind's energy, directly influence how the physical brain controls the body's physiology. Thought, energy, can activate or inhibit the cell's function-producing proteins via the mechanics of constructive and destructive interference. Now, like I said, it takes the same amount of mental energy to send your physical body in a negative direction as it does a positive. People don't think of it this way. It really is true. It takes just as much energy to worry as it does to get excited. And the chemicals produced in your body when you're worrying, trust me, are not going to send you in a positive direction with your physical body. Plus, you just don't feel good. If you're worrying, you don't feel good. It brings you down. And you know I don't like that down. I like up. You can turn those thoughts around. I like to create what I call pivotal response conditioning, is PRC for my dissertation, for my research, because it sounded so cool. And it's something that you can just, I call it hitting pause. You get a sense that you're not feeling good. You don't have much energy, or you're worrying about something, or you're thinking about something in a way that causes you to not feel good. Because trust me, it isn't the feeling that starts it. It's the thought. And when we do a couple of series on pain, I'll probably get some phone calls during those during those shows, because it's a different mindset. And you do have some control, as much as is possible, over the physical expression of the cells of the body. The mind runs the show. It starts with a thought. So if you aren't feeling as good as you want to feel, hit pause. That means take a breath. I press my fingers and thumbs together like the yoga pose there, because it's just something that I started out doing 21 years ago, and it seemed to work, so I keep doing it, and it's triggered in now. It's anchored into my body. And when I take that breath, it's like all of a sudden everything stops. It's hitting pause literally in my mindset, and it kind of puts the brakes on that neural pathway. It puts a brake on it so that you start interrupting patterns that way. I teach my clients this. It's very powerful. And it's like taking your control back. And then I think, what was I just thinking? And it doesn't much matter what I was thinking. The point is, think of something in a way that causes me to feel better. How can I think about what I was thinking about in a way that causes me to feel better? That is more optimistic, that is more resourceful, that is more positive. And instantly, your physical body will start to receive chemicals that will send it in the direction of more power, more strength, more health, more resources. And that's the way that works. I'm going to read another little piece here. This is from Fighting Cancer from Within, since that has been kind of the focus of the last couple of shows. Martin L. Rossman, MD, Fighting Cancer from Within is his book. Imagery has been shown in numerous research studies to affect almost all major physiologic control systems of the body, including breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, metabolic rates, digestive functions, sexual functions, and perhaps most important, immune system response. It's all tied together. You can't be in a positive state and a negative state at the same time. It's impossible. Like I said, if you're feeling down and you stand up and look up and start laughing, at the very least, you're going to feel silly for a few seconds. And in those few seconds, your body's going to be healthier. And you can start to switch that. You can start to get out of the habit of being down. Here's the rest of that from the Fighting Cancer from Within. A review of articles investigating whether imagery could affect immune response revealed that the vast majority of 22 such studies showed significant positive results. They demonstrated that people doing imagery aimed at stimulating the immune response against cancer or chronic viral illnesses increased not only the number of circulating killer cells, which are the immune cells specifically charged with eliminating cancer cells, but it increased their aggressiveness when encountering an abnormal cell or virus. The level to which immune responsiveness is increased with imagery is significant. When the system is stimulated by imagery, there are no adverse side effects. Any side effects actually tend to be positive, a greater sense of calmness, empowerment, and feelings of wholeness. Now, think about that. People using imagery improved their immune response significantly improved it. So when people that are up, people that get in the habit of thinking in positive, empowering ways, it constantly is strengthening your immune system. So think about that. That's something you have 100% control over. If you feel out of control in any area of your life, if something's going on in your life and you feel a sense of not being in control of something, that means that there's a way you're thinking about it that is not activating your resources. Anything that's happening that you have no sense of control over, you can get into that state, get into the higher consciousness, and look at it from a different frame of reference, from a different angle. And there are ways to do this in the imagination using imagery. This is so powerful. Sports people know this. Doing mental rehearsals is very popular. I did that when I was in show business. I would rehearse roles and getting into character and being that person, imagining, pretending is another way of saying it. It may sound silly, but when you're a child and you pretend something, you have all kinds of emotions connected with it. I think that's partly why I ended up becoming a singer and an actress, because when I would pretend as a child, and we didn't even have a television most of my childhood. I remember we had a black and white TV briefly, and I remembered seeing Teresa Brewer back in the 50s when I was a small child. And I loved the way she sang, and I would imitate her. My dad had some old records of hers, so I would imitate her. And I remembered when I'd be outside imitating her, I would pretend I was on stage. And when I would sleep, I would have dreams, and I would imagine myself up on stage singing in one of the beautiful gowns with my hair all done up in the way they did it back in those days. And actually, I still do sometimes because I'm a 50s gal. But that imagery, that imagining, that pretending is powerful, and your unconscious mind activates all of the parts of your mind and body together to make that real. It responds as if it's real. When you imagine something, that's why people get themselves into panic attacks. Think of what an amazing expression of being able to imagine something terrible happening. Think of what a powerful expression that is, to be able to create for yourself a full-blown panic attack. That's power. That's power. If you can create a panic attack based on what you're pretending and imagining in your head, then just imagine if you sent that in another direction. If you sent it in the direction of something positive that you actually want to accomplish in your life, something you want to heal, something you want to some way that you want to be, a new behavior, creating a new self, a new image, a new way of being and thinking. All of that power that created that panic attack can now be turned into creating strength and character and power and confidence and focus. All of those things can be created just as easily, by the way, because wherever you send your thoughts, that's what's going to activate in your physiology. And it's written in many books that the unconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. And that's why people have different expressions of being in the same exact experience. And boy, do I have a lot of examples of that in my own life, of experiences where I came out stronger and more resourceful, and having gained lessons from an experience that someone else just fell apart and became weaker. It's the same experience. It's based on how you think about it. Life doesn't happen out there. Trust me, it happens in here, in your mind. Reality is in your mind. The experience you're having is based on how you interpret it, how you frame it, the internal representations that you're making about it. If they're negative, that means there's a program in there. If you feel like you can't control it, that means you have an unconscious program. You need to get to that part of your mind. Willpower is totally useless when it's in combat with the unconscious programming. That's why when people keep going on diets and using willpower to stop smoking and all these things that I work with, and they say, well, why is it so easy now? because you're not fighting yourself. The unconscious mind gets it. You got to give it the message in the language it understands. It's like telling a child, don't do something, and you keep saying, don't do it, don't do it. Why do they keep doing it? Because you're offering them with the wrong language, with the negatives. And you keep talking about what it is you don't want them to do instead of what you want them to do. And it sounds way too simple. And trust me, that's one of the things I hear the most. Why is this so easy? Why is this so easy? Because it's the way we're designed. And there are a lot more people out there discovering this and have discovered it through the centuries. And it's like I get the feeling when I read books from long ago and from different venues and different approaches and philosophy and psychology and even from business management and all these different things through the years and the centuries. It's almost like you got to keep learning the same lessons over and over. So let's start passing them along. That's my goal in life. I'm going to pass them along. So you can go to uphypnosis.com. I give something away every time I do this show. So if you're watching this show either live or in the archives, I don't really care because I love to give things away. And if you email me at info@uphypnosis.com, that's up, of course. Look up, like the sign. Oops, backwards. Look up, like right above me there. Uphypnosis.com, or you can go to the website, uphypnosis.com. And I will send you on a PDF a self-hypnosis little booklet, something you can read to reinforce, to re-trigger some of the thoughts, some of the things that I talked about tonight. Excuse me, I need another drink of water. I don't know why. I think I've been watching too much news lately. There's something about people drinking water while they're talking. I'm not sure what that is. But since I'm not a politician, you will remember the other things that I'm talking about rather than just that I took a drink of water. So there you go. So next time we meet, I know I'm running out of time here, so I kind of got off on a tangent, but I think it was very relevant because I want you to realize this is all about up. This is, even when we're talking about something that is a kind of an intense topic like cancer, I want you to understand that's part of life. Whatever is happening is happening. And you can ignore it. You can pretend it isn't there. That's not going to help, because what is happening is happening. You can learn to think about it in ways that either empower you or weaken you. It's your choice. It is 100% your choice. And then it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? That's where maybe I can come in to help you with these things. And if you listen to the archived shows and you just listen to bits and pieces with the intention of searching for something you need, trust me, when you send that out into the universe, and this is going to sound a little woo-woo maybe, but it just shows up. You put it out there with a positive, powerful intention that you want something, that you're searching for something, and it will miraculously, almost as if it just falls out of the sky right in front of you. It happens to me all the time. You just get yourself in the right state. And next time we meet, I'm going to talk more about Bruce Lipton. My buddy, I call him Brucey. I love him. He probably doesn't even remember who I am, but I sure do remember him. I'm going to talk more about the Simonton's cancer studies and about how to stay resourceful, happy, healthy while you're dealing with life's situations, and how to frame things to yourself so that it empowers you, so that you can stay resourceful moving through those challenges in life. And trust me when I say the challenges are what make us stronger. The challenges are what really create the higher highs down the line in life. When we get through those challenges, the highs become higher. The strengths become stronger. The experiences we have are what make us who we are. It's how we think about them. This is Think Up, Unlimited Possibilities. And I think I'm about down to a quick minute maybe or so here. I got the sign. And I just want to remind you to think up and to go to uphypnosis.com and look at the things. If you want to learn hypnosis, we've got a class coming up. March 8th, we've got self-hypnosis class later in the month. It's a little Saturday class, little quickie classes all over the place. We do continuing education for hypnotists where you can come and be a practice client. That's fun. And in the hypnosis training, I also ask for practice clients to come in to help us out with our students so that they have someone to practice with. All of these things are available. Just email me. I will send you the little self-hypnosis booklet that I give out in the class. And you can look at that, trigger some ideas, help yourself, learn self-hypnosis. It's all self-hypnosis. You have to do it. It's your life. It's your mind. You're the only one that can do what you need to do, what you want to do. And you can learn to do it. Even if you've failed in the past is the past. You can learn to think differently now. and the future can be different. So this is Patricia Scott, Patricia V. Scott, and this is Think Up. Join me again next week. Thanks a lot.